How's it going, everyone? It's Johnny Beard here with another episode of the Streamer Stories podcast. I'm very excited to talk to our guest today. I've got a brilliant journalist. I've got Faith Johnson with me today. Hello, Faith. How you doing?
I'm really well, Johnny. How are you?
I'm pretty good, thank you. Pretty good. It's supposed to be a Sunday, but it's not. It's Tuesday. It's a Tuesday evening, and I'm doing a fantastic podcast with someone that I've been admiring from a distance on social media for some time. So thank you for being here. I really appreciate
Oh,
you.
that's really kind of you to say. We can pretend it's Sunday.
It's a
You know,
Sunday
it's
evening.
TV land, isn't it? It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Yeah.
Well, Faith, thanks so much for being on the podcast. I know we do call this Streamer Stories, and you've done a bit of dabbling with streaming, but you're predominantly a journalist. And I've got some, yeah, I've seen bits and pieces over social media. I've seen a bit on your website as well, and I know you've done stuff on the BBC and other mainstream media. So again, just I'm honored to speak to you. So thanks for joining.
No problem. No, I mean, I do some broadcasting, which is kind of the original streaming.
Yes,
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 there you go. There you go. Yes, radio and TV and stuff. So that is. I am a streamer. I'm just an old school streamer. And I,
yes.
and I and I do a bit of streaming here and there.
100%. I whenever people ask me what is Twitch, because obviously I do most of my stuff on Twitch, people go, what is Twitch? And I go, think about Gogglebox, but for video games. And they go, and it's the best way to describe it, I think.
Do you know what? I've had that a few times where, like a family member or a friend, whatever, has said, "What is this streaming Twitch thing that I've seen you put posts out about that I click on and I just say, imagine your own personal TV channel where you get to do whatever you want on."
Yeah. There we go. We may switch this. I love that. Amazing stuff. Amazing. So yeah. Well, Faith, thank you again for appearing on. Do you want to introduce yourself and then tell us a bit about, like, just a bit of a background in terms of what you've done, what you do? You know, what type of content you produce, and where we can find you, basically.
Yeah, so I'm Faith Johnson, aka RetroFaith. I am mostly known for having a very, very large Sonic game collection. I'm absolutely a huge Sonic fan, which I'm sure we'll talk to at some point about Sonic, and Sega in general is like my bag. I am a games journalist or games writer if you prefer. So I will do reviews, news, features, interviews, whatever about retro games, new games, indie games, big games, small games, homebrew games, whatever, for websites, magazines. I do a bit of work for mainstream media, most notably BBC, bit of radio work and stuff. Normally when there's a big news story like something like Grand Theft Auto 6 has got a trailer launch, they'll get me on the radio just to give some spiel about it. Books as well. I've got plenty of books that I've written, which we might be able to go through. Being part of writing as well. Yes, so I just love writing about video games, and I just love video games in general. And I have my own website, RetroFaith.net, which is kind of my main hangout. But yeah, I'm on Twitter, Facebooks, all the usual bits and pieces. If you just Google RetroFaith, I think all of the things will come up.
Amazing, incredible. And how long have you been in the journalistic? How long have you been? Have you been doing it like pretty much your whole life?
No. For most of my life, I just had a normal job in London doing like financial stuff.
Wow.
And one day, I think it's actually the end of August. The end of August was the 5th anniversary where I just said I've had enough of this, and I just threw it in. And everyone thought I was nuts throwing away this really good job in the city. But I just went, no, I want to follow a dream. I used to read all the old games magazines like Games Master, CVG, and all that kind of stuff back in the day. Yeah, for UK or any US viewers will know the old magazines back in the 90s and 80s and things. And there were some heroes in mine like Dave Perry from Games Master and Jazz Rignall and a few others. And I just thought, I want to do that. And I just did. I just quit my job and I said, I'm going to start writing about video games. So I started a blog about 5 years ago, which is now turned into like a gaming news website for like indie games and retro games and other bits and pieces. And since then I've grown. So yeah, I started off doing that. Then I started getting into some niche magazine work with a company called Fusion Retro Books, who is my boss there. I'm really good friends with, and We now do events and we do books. I also write occasionally for Retro Gamer magazine, which is one of the biggest magazines in the world, which I'm really proud of. That was the dream. When I started, I said my dream is to get an article in Retro Gamer magazine, and I've done that loads of times now. So that was the big dream. And then randomly, say 2 years ago, someone from the BBC called me and said, "Oh, I found you on Twitters or whatever, Facebook or something, and we want to talk about this." And I can't remember what it was. And I just said, "I can do that. What you want? What is it you want me to do?" And they went, "Oh, we'll pay you to come on the radio and be like an expert." They called it like a talking head, which is, you know, like when you watch the news and somebody, you know, is like the expert. So the news report will be like, "We're just turning to John Smith, who works for John Smith Inc. About this story about John Smith." And then John Smith will come on and it will be like, "John Smith, whatever the job title is," and you'll know from the job. So that they will just put me on as like Faith Johnson, video game journalist. Like, and I'll talk, as I say, talk about something like Grand Theft Auto 6, or I go on the Jeremy. Anyone from the UK watching will know. The Jeremy Vine show on Radio 5 Live. He loves getting me on because he thinks video games are for kids. So I'm just kind of used as the expert that he will laugh at. Me trying to convince him that video games aren't for kids is usually the story. If he does something about the 90s, or he does something about video game violence or something, whatever's in the, because obviously he's a current affairs program. If they're saying on the front of the Sun saying kid attacks another kid and blames it on Grand Theft Auto, they'll just call me up and wheel me out, like, to be like, "Right, this is our video game person, this is what we're gonna do," you know. But I love it, and they, you know, and it's paid for. It is hard though, like that side of it, like the mainstream media side of it is hard to get taken seriously, because the vast majority of people just think video games are for kids, and that's fine. But I do my best to try and fly the flag. But anyway, in a long-winded way, I write about video games and occasionally go on the radio.
It's great. Again, I've been following you for about a couple of years now, and I've seen you on. I didn't know you were on Jimmy Vine show, but I remember seeing some bits and pieces.
Yeah, no, he likes me. I went to the studio.
Yeah,
actually, I've been there a couple of times with Jeremy Vine. He's a really fun guy. Yeah, he's a really fun guy.
Hell yeah, that's so cool, Faith. I love that. Wow. Goodness me, there's a lot to get into later on, that's for sure. But let's wind it back. Let's wind it back then. Massive Sonic fan, was a massive Sega fan. I mean, was that the beginning? What was the first what's your first memory of seeing video games? Was it watching someone? Was it playing it? What was it like?
Yeah, obviously, as we know, I'm of a certain age now where my memory gets faded. But I do remember being very young, 3-4 years old in the late 80s, and I'm going to assume one of my cousins gave us a Pong machine, like the old Pong machine, you know, where it's got like 71 games, but really it's just the same game. It's just Pong with the same thing happening. But anyway, I remember playing one of those when I was really, really young, one of my earliest memories. Then my older brother, he got a Commodore 64 when I must have been like 4, maybe 5. And I remember that clearly. There's a few games I remember really clearly on that and playing with him. I was a little bit young to appreciate it, although used to just watch him more and get into it. I didn't really take much of an interest in video games until Christmas 1991, and my little friend appeared under my Christmas tree.
Yay.
And something inside me just went when I turned on that Mega Drive and started playing this game. And I was a tiny bit older than I was like, I would have been 7. Mm-hmm. So I had the dexterity and the mind of, still obviously a little kid, but you're not a baby, you're not like a little toddler anymore, and you can appreciate it a bit more. And something in my brain just said, I absolutely love this, and I want to do this for the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. And I still do play that original. I've still got, it's just shame we can't be doing this in my living room. You'd see all my Sonic collection. I've got like nearly 500 Sonic games now. I can't fit it in my office. So I can send you a picture if you want to put it up when you do your editing. And Yeah, and I just love it, and it's just never. I've still got my original Mega Drive with my original Sonic game from that time, and I just never ever stopped playing Sonic. And obviously, then that grew as I got a bit older. Street Fighter, I used to play competitively, places like Trocadero in London. That's another lifetime away. That's a long time ago, and just generally start, and then more and more got into video games. So yeah, it started. Yeah, while I have very earlier memories, the answer to your question is Christmas 1991.
Yeah.
A little blue fella come into my life, and he's been my only constant thing in my life except family.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. You told me 7, 8. I was 8 or 9. I kind of a similar story in terms of like my first console was the Mega Drive as well, but I played it like 1998, and I was like 8 or 9, and yeah, Sonic just immediately hooked me. And I can remember you talk about like being like a baby, a toddler, a young kid, and all that stuff, and having that mindset. Like I was the same. I was not very good at it, but I was just drawn to him. I remember getting Sonic 2 for the first time, like about 3 to 6 months later, and again, I remember getting it like going to school. I was like, oh, I finished the first level, and I got to go to school, and I had to come back home. And it's like, right, okay, going to start that off again, sort of thing. So that little blue fella's got a lot to answer for, I think.
He really does. He really. I would not be doing. I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you if it wasn't for Sonic. If I hadn't found, if Sonic didn't appear, I probably wouldn't have really got into video games that much. I don't think. Well, maybe Street Fighter 2.
Yeah.
Maybe Street Fighter 2. Because when I got a bit older to go to arcades and started playing that was a big impact on me. That was like so different. That it was. We've gone from playing like Pong machines and Commodore 64 to now Sonic, and now like these giant characters moving around so fast, like with the music and everything. And that was a magic time for me personally. But just where I do my job now is like a games journalist and historian. Like I can just look back and go, I was so lucky to be alive when Mario, Sonic, and Street Fighter was like there in your face.
100%, definitely
Massive.
And so who's your Street Fighter main? Who did you?
Either Ken or Ken. I'd say Ken is the main.
Yeah.
But I'm also really fond of that people in the West would call the character Vega with the spiky hand, but for me, problem is I played it a Japanese version, so for me that's Bullrog.
Yeah,
the face mask, my lovely face, and all that.
The Spanish one.
The Spanish conquistador character. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's awesome. Wow. And so you played I'm assuming you played the hyper fighting version then as well, if it was all the fast stuff. That was crazy that came out as well. Yeah. No, I was very lucky. My hometown. So I just got into playing Sonic, and I was like, video games. Like, I wanted Gunstar Heroes. I wanted all these different games to play. And then when I got a little bit older and I could go out with my mates and that, like so 9, 10, 11, kids today wouldn't understand this because they've got to be locked indoors apparently. But you used to be able to go out, kids. You used to be able to go out like on your own with your mates. And anyway, in my hometown, we had 3 arcades. We had one called Silver Dollar, which was kind of like the older kids, the cool kids, teenager hangout. And it had all the cool fighting games like Street Fighter and King of Fighters and Final Fight and all the kind of beat 'em ups and racing, all the cool games. Then we had Sega World, which is at the top of a Debenhams. So Debenhams department store, massive thing in Romford. They had like 6 floors, like 5 or 6 floors. On the very top floor, like 3/4 of it, they built Sega World. Wow, that's crazy.
Oh yeah, wow is the answer. But it wasn't just Sega games. They had like air hockey, pool, loads of Capcom. I think Sega did a deal with Capcom to get a load of the game, but it was just like all the virtual fighters, Daytona, and it had a racing game that anyone that's been to the arcade 90s would know called Daytona, and you just had like 8 of them in a line, and you'd 8 players playing together on a game.
Oh yeah.
All sitting in cars. So you had like 8 cabs in a row. And everyone, all Saturday, just trying to race each other on it, and the blaring sounds, and the Virtua Cop games, and all that. Oh, like Time Crisis and all that. Good memories for me. And then there was another little arcade which was more for fruit machines. I don't know if you know gambling fruit machines, but they had a few old 80s ones in there, like some of the shooters like Galaxian, Speak Faith, like Space Invaders, Galaxian, and Pac-Man and stuff. So we used to pop in there, and that was only 10p a go. But so yes, I absolutely, I'm a massive arcade gamer as well, as well as like home gaming.
Yeah. Wow. Incredible. Wow. Oh. So after the Mega Drive, then, so where did you go from there? Did you go Sega Saturn? Did you go PlayStation? Did you go sideways? Super Nintendo? Where did you go from there?
I got a Super Nintendo late because they released a game called Killer Instinct, again, fighting games.
Yes.
I played it in the arcade in '94, loved every minute of it. It's actually one of my favourite games of all time. It's one of the ones I still keep. And then I found out in a magazine that they were going to bring it to Super Nintendo.
Right.
So I saw a Super Nintendo and I thought, right, I'll get that. And as soon as the game came out, I bought a second-hand Super Nintendo probably off a friend for like 20 quid or something, and then just bought the game. Yeah, but I did but before that, I did really secretly love Super Mario World. I wouldn't have said it back in the day with the playground wars of Sega versus Nintendo, but I secretly, that is probably the best game I've ever played, Super Mario World, and I love it now. I speedrun it today. I swear, I effing love Super Mario World. But no, in terms of your question, I went from Mega Drive, a slight sideways to SNES for a summer, playing Killer Instinct, and then realising this isn't anywhere near as good as the arcade, so I'll just play F-Zero and Mario World because that's good. Very quickly, I imported a Sega Saturn, which was my first import console from Japan back in '94. Wow, so around the same time I got the SNES, late. It would have been late '94, early '95. God, I've got the game up there. X-Men: Children of the Atom, Japanese version. It had a 4 megabyte memory card that added some extra RAM, like you would on your PC, to the Saturn. Oh, it's incredible stuff back then. And I've got Saturn. Very quickly, and let's not get into this because it's a very, very well trodden road. But yeah, Saturn didn't last very long. We all know that. Yeah. And I did end up getting a PlayStation, but not for the reasons people normally think. There is, I wish I'd got all these out. There's a game series. Give me a second. Just to give you a visual. When I say this, you'll get it.
Yeah, no worries.
Making lots of mess and lots of noise now. There is a game series very close to my heart, which people will be like, what? And I have a bit of an obsession with extreme sports. And there was a game I played on the PlayStation called Cool Borders, right? Yes. And I tell you what, as soon as I played it around a friend's house, right? This is before Tony. So let's put it in context. This is before Tony Hawk's, right? Yes. Before Tony Hawk Pro Skater come out. There wasn't much in the way of extreme sports. Before that, we'd had like one on the SNES, which was a bit rubbish. You had California Games, but it was okay. I played a PlayStation with this game on it, and the very, very next day, I went out and bought a PlayStation with Cool Borders because I absolutely fell in love with this game, and I still play it today, and I'm like, yes, this isn't a good video game, but it's one of those. It's one of those games that is so pure, and it's so hard, but it's not hard because it's rubbish. It's hard because they really want to make you work for it, like the good old games of old. And people think, "Oh, this is trash," and I'm like, "You just say it's trash because you don't have the patience to sit and learn it." But yeah, I went on to PlayStation very quickly, and then another little thing came out. Let me get my fingers right here if I can do it. Another little console came out in November 1998. Again, imported it straight away because I knew a very special blue 3D game was coming out for it. So I dumped my PlayStation. I got onto my Japanese people, got one of these Dreamcasts through. So a lot of people are like, oh, it's the 25th anniversary of Dreamcast. It's like, no, that was a year ago. I've had this for over. So that another thing altogether. But all that night for the night of '99, I was like, no, the Dreamcast is older than that. It's 98. But anyway, so yeah, I went straight back to Sega, and again, sadly, Dreamcast for Sonic Adventure mainly, but I actually then realised again the fighting games on the Dreamcast. If you ever apart from the Neo Geo, which we could talk about as a different sort of thing, Dreamcast when it comes to fighting games is the absolute king console. Absolutely the king of fighting games.
Which
when
is
it comes to consoles,
you don't hear very often, is it? You like that statement you just made there. Like, it's not something I hear very often at all. We talk about the short but wonderful collection of games the Dreamcast had, but not specifically fighting games. It's quite an interesting.
Well, if you just look at the library, you've got the best home version of Street Fighter Third Strike. You've got the best home version of Guru Mark of the Wolves. These are even better than the Neo Geo games, because by then the Neo Geo was obviously really old. Which was the king of fighting games before the Dreamcast. It was even beating like Sega Saturn and PlayStation at times, still with the King of Fighters games. But the King of Fighters games, they're so well done. And then you've got a really the best home version of Marvel vs. Capcom 2 by a country mile. And that is the one, and all those kind of games. So while very short-lived console, the Dreamcast, if you like fighting games and shooting games and generally like arcade games, I'm obviously very biased, but I would say it's the best console ever for that type of game. For pure old-school arcade gaming, it is the absolute top of everything.
It's the one thing that Sega have always done well, isn't it? Is the arcade scene. Like, even to this day, I think they're still keeping it alive somewhat. Even though the arcading scene is not, sadly, what it was.
Sega make more money from selling pachinko machines, which are like kind of Japanese slot machines, than they do anything else.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame. It's not what it was. But what a console.
Yeah, I miss arcade. I could sit here and cry about it all day, but I have really fond memories of growing up in the 90s and early 2000s, and it's easy for me to say because it's my nostalgia, but I really think that was the golden era of gaming, early 90s to early 2000s, that sort of 10-year slot for me. And I could argue a really strong case for why that block of gaming is the best of all time.
I agree. I do think it's one of those things that everyone. I think this is not saying, isn't it? Like, everyone's first console or second console tends to be the best console of all time, but everyone has that same opinion.
No, because my first console was the Mega Drive, but I don't think that's the best console of all time. I don't even think I'd put it in the top 10.
What?
Nah, I don't think I would.
That's a hot take.
It is a hot take. I mean, it's got my favourite games on it. Sonic and Knuckles. Sonic 3 and Knuckles is like my second favourite game of all time. But as a console, I mean, tell a lie, it would make a top 10 for me, but it wouldn't touch, like, if someone said, what's your top 5 consoles? Mega Drive wouldn't even come into my thinking. I'd be like Dreamcast, Neo Geo, Switch now. Switch is absolutely amazing console. I'd then go Wii, the Wii. I know people will laugh, but Wii Sports did so much for gaming.
Yeah.
Wii Sports got my mum playing a video game because they could understand it. People that never played a video game could suddenly understand them. Yep. And then I put PS2.
Yeah.
Again, just the amount of games you play on that machine is just insane.
Yeah, and when you say it just like that, just rolling off like that, I'm like, yeah, you're right.
Again, very personal, because Neo Geo, a lot of people are like, oh, but that's just stupid. I'm like, but if you like fighting games and arcade games, Neo Geo is the plateau of excellence, along with the Dreamcast. Mega Drive, while it has some amazing arcade games, to me, it's really just a Sonic machine now. And a Sonic and Gunstar Heroes machine. Because I love those games.
I love Gunstar Heroes. Yeah, I played it yesterday. No, day before. Sorry. But I need to talk to you about, if you don't mind, about the Japanese importing then, because again, that's not something that, again, just even crosses my mind in being something that people from the UK would have done much in the 90s. So that is a very unique, if you don't mind me saying, like a unique kind of way of looking at it. Like what brought that on? What made you feel? Is it just, I need this now? Oh, I'm going to get it from Japan, and it was going to come from there first because these are Japanese consoles. Like what brought that on?
It was two things: finding out that the Sega Saturn wasn't going to be released for another year, and me and my friend had the money to buy one. Luckily, my hometown, where I grew up, had a shop that did lots of import gaming anyway.
Right.
So we had access to it, which was important. You could see it in the back of magazines all the time. You know, the old style of internet. If you open the Games Master magazine up, there'd be loads of shops like CEX, not CEX of today, the original CEX when it was actually a video game shop. Oh, and anyway, yeah, let's not get into that.
No.
Yeah, let's not get into CEX. But anyway, you'd have shops that would advertise getting things like, you know, like PC Engine games in and Neo Geo games and stuff. So, also because what happened was because I spent so much time in the arcades, I saw all these games. And then when you read in the magazine that it's not going to be released in the UK for another 18 months or something, or a year minimum, you're just like, well, I want to play it now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so we went to the shop and went, we want to play this X-Men Children of the Atom game, like a Marvel fight, a Capcom fighting game, which we're playing in the arcades, but we know it's coming out for this Sega Saturn, and they just went, yeah, we've got them here, like, you know, Sega Saturn. They were grey Sega Saturns.
Wow.
Not the black that we know in the UK, and they buy them. It was expensive. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say that it was cheap or that it was a good deal, but we had access to that, and it also, one of my friends who was a bit more well off than us, they had a TV with 60 hertz. Now, younger viewers of yours would be like, "What you're talking about?" But back in the day, you had NTSC. And PAL video signals, which I'm not going to get into a whole technical thing, but basically it means PAL is slower but more detail on the screen, and NTSC, which they use in America and Japan, was not as much detail but was faster.
Yeah.
And when I played Sonic
Yeah.
in my Mega Drive at home, I was used to it, and then when I played it on my friend's house, I was just like, this is so much faster. I can get faster times because it just is quicker, and I could beat my own records and speed running. And then when it comes to thinking, and I was thinking about it when we come to the Sega Saturn, me and my friend, by then my family had got a 60 hertz TV, 50, you know, with an RGB SCART. Yeah, your viewers will get bored if I start. I'm a bit of a techie when it comes to my gear, but long story short, the Japanese consoles are just better to use than UK consoles, and I wanted that. I didn't want to wait I didn't want to wait longer to get an inferior product.
Yeah.
So I just started, and I never stopped. We also imported a PlayStation, and we got it. There's a thing called chipping, which you used to get some dodgy guy on the market would open up your PlayStation, put this little chip thing in, solder it in, and then you could just run copied games. I've still got it. I was playing it the other day. And you could just do like CD burns of games and then buy them dodgy off some guy on the market. But I just wanted things now.
Yeah.
I didn't want to wait.
No.
That's why I got into import gaming. It was more that. It's like, I don't want to wait a year to play some game that, you know, I'm playing in the arcade now.
Yeah. It's fascinating. It really is. Like, yeah, I love. It's almost a silly question, isn't it? And you give me a very straight answer to it. It's like, yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Also, anyone that looks at it, the artwork is cooler as well on the boxes. The actual boxes, the artwork from the Japanese games, so much better than they look on the English games.
Yeah. I must admit, by the way, again, yeah, you mentioned again your incredible collection, and I must say, by the way, the piece of kit that you've got that I've always been jealous of. I think I don't know if I've even.
Is it this? Is it this? Please don't say it's this thing.
Don't do it. No, that's not. No, it's not. No,
that's not that. All right, yeah, good.
I'm a massive fan. And when we talk about box art, like my favorite box art of all time, believe it or not, is the simplicity of the Sonic and Knuckles box art. And
the console.
I'm so jealous of your console. You post it every 4 months, and I'm like, I sigh, and cry a little bit inside every 4 months.
Well, it's going to be making an appearance very, very soon because it's the 30th anniversary of Sonic and Knuckles next month. So, and I've got loads of content. I'm doing it now. I'm starting it now. Articles, videos. I'm going to celebrate like it's 1999.
Yeah,
it's like my favourite Sega game. It's going to be 30 years old. Yes. So the Sonic. Let me explain all that.
Please.
So So the context of this little quick discussion makes sense to your views. I'll make sure I send you a picture of the Sonic collection or a few, so you can edit what you want. But the bottom line is, I have a stupidly huge Sonic games collection. I've been collecting it since. Well, I had all the games when I was a kid, like most of the games, like, you know, just as you go along, birthdays, Christmases, I'd always get. And if there was a new Sonic game out, I'd ask my mum for, can I have the new Sonic game? But when I got my first job, like proper job, like towards the end of the 90s, where I had money, like real money, that I could do whatever I want with, I started going, I want to collect all the Sonic games. And then I started looking, and I was like, oh, there's actually it's quite a lot here. Yeah. There's quite a lot of different things to collect and that. And I started noticing that there's different types. So like Sonic 1, the original Sonic 1, I've now got, I think I'm up to 16 or 17 different variants from around the world.
That's crazy.
And then this magical thing called eBay appeared, and the internet, and we were like, whoa, and Amazon and stuff. And it was like, what is this? Oh my God, my world just went from, I'm buying all these Sonic games in the UK to I am now going to buy every Sonic game in the world.
Yes.
And the box art was grabbing me for the Sonic games and the Sega games, and I just jumped in. And it was so cheap back then. Like, I don't try to evaluate on things, because I don't buy video games because I want to invest like some water nonsense or something. The Sonic. And anyway, so when I was doing my research, get back to what we were talking about. I have a few of these boxed Sonic bundles. So like, it's a console with a Sonic game. So it might be like a Mega Drive with a Sonic game, or a Saturn with a whatever, or a Game Gear with a Sonic, whatever it is. And there was one I saw on a very, very old Sega website that was released in France, which is just as you've said, it's so beautiful, that aesthetic of the Sonic and Knuckles logo on a Mega Drive box. And I wanted one of those since the moment I looked at it. Within half a second, my brain is like, oh my God, that is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I want that. And I looked high and low. I messaged people in France, phoned up game shops in France and everything. And a couple of times I saw it for sale, but I just missed out, or it was really badly damaged and torn, and I thought I'll hold out for a better condition one. Then didn't see one for 15, probably over 15 years. I didn't see one, and I thought I'll never get it. Randomly on Facebook, 4 or 5 years ago now, someone messaged me and went, I've got something for you. And they showed me a picture, and I was like, oh yeah, I really want that. Yeah, I've seen it. I want to get it when I see it. They were like, no, you don't understand, Faith. I have this. And I was like, has it got all the bits in it? Which is, again, this is where my mind goes to with the collecting is. So in France, they use a video signal called CCAM, which is a bit like RGB SCART. So I had to make sure, does it have a CCAM RGB in it? And they checked it, and it was all so I knew it was real. And then we checked the box, and I got the serial number, and we didn't have that serial number logged. So the actual box that come in the bundle was special to that bundle. So we knew this was the real thing. It wasn't just some cobbled thing. There was some damage to it, but I just said, screw it. I'm not going to find one, especially where it had the French connection. I thought that was a funny joke when I said it to myself, but it's not as funny as a thing.
Damn it, went off my head. Yes.
It had the French connector, the French video cable, and it had this new variant that we'd never seen before in our Sonic collecting circles. And I just paid for it. And you're right, it's the most beautiful thing. I hate saying things like this, like touch wood, but if there was a fire in my house right now, the first thing I'd grab after my boyfriend would be my Sonic and Knuckles box Mega Drive collection.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. That's all. Yeah.
And I put the picture. There's a picture of me when I got, and the story gets better. The story gets better. So this lady who had this, like in our gaming circles, was like, "I'll sell it to you." I was like, "I will literally." Don't care. I will pay whatever you want. I'll get my credit card, because I honestly, I just didn't care. I was like, this is more important to me than any money, any financial thing. I'll work it off. I'll pay it off. I'll sell things from my own other collections to pay for it. Anyway, the lady wasn't right. I don't want to post it in the post because I'm worried it will get damaged. And I was like, yeah, okay, where are you? Turned out, I live in London. Turned out she has a stall at the London gaming market, which was happened to be on like a few weeks after that she found it in her loft or wherever she found it. I can't remember now. And I said, I'll pick it up from you there. And that picture that you talk about, me standing there smiling, which I'll send to you, which you can put up on your edit. That was me the day I had it in my hand for the very first time. So that photo is it's not just some promotional me. Look at my Sonic collection. That is genuine. That is genuine, pure happiness on someone's face.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about it now. I've got goosebumps. I'm just thinking about that. It's like that day. That is one of the best days of my entire life.
Oh wow! I'm so happy. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Like, I think it's mild. I wouldn't even say it was mild. Medium jealousy. I have for you.
But I put a lot of work into looking for that. So I mean, it did kind of fall in my lap. Yeah, and there is another Sonic and Knuckles Mega Drive bundle in Portugal. It doesn't look quite as good. It's got Sonic and Knuckles powering through a wall. Weirdly, the logo in the middle.
Well. Have you posted that before?
It doesn't look as good. But again, if I ever saw one, I would just be like, I don't care. I'll just get in debt for it. It means that much to me. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
That's the last thing I need.
No, thanks for sharing that story. That was incredible. And 15 years, like almost like again, when people say about fate and things happen for a reason, all that stuff. Like when you say stuff like that, people go, maybe not. But like when you say stuff like that, it's like wow, it felt like it was meant to be. That's incredible.
The lady knew. She sold it to me. But I'm not going to say the price because it's not about money. It was obviously a lot of money, but she did a really good deal for me because she said she goes, I know I could put this out on eBay and get a lot of money, but she said, I want you to have it because I know it belongs in your home. And a few people have sold me some very, very expensive Sonic games at a very good price because they understand that what I've done is build an actual archive, a museum of Sonic video games that there's nothing like it in the world. We've never found anyone else that has what I have.
That's incredible.
Just to clarify that for viewers, before you get lots of people saying there are people with more Sonic items, like lots of more Sonic items, but there's just things like pencil cases and T-shirts from a supermarket and calendar, all the what I call just tat. You can just go walk into Primark and buy. What I've done is a catalogue of nearly 500 Sonic video games. Some of the I've discovered, I think, 15 variants myself over the years that we've now catalogued in the Sega catalog. Sega have asked me for information about their games.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah, and how much of a relationship do you have with Sega? Because I know you've worked with them to some capacity, haven't you? So,
I don't mind talking about this. It used to be a lot better. They do send me the odd thing here and there. And you send me games to try and stuff, but it used to be better. It's a bit different now. I think that they're marketing themselves more towards like a not a younger type of gamer, but everything moves on. Look, I'm stuck in the 1990s. Right, I really am stuck in the 1990s as a person and the early 2000s. I love that era. I don't think life's got much better since about 2005, if I was just generally speaking. But Sega as a company obviously have to keep on moving. So the people that I did know back, say, 15, 20 years ago that I knew, none of them work there anymore, maybe one. And it's different now. And the thing is, I'm very outspoken as well. I've been very tempted to get a job at Sega a few times. I know I probably, if I applied, I could not easily, but I know they know who I am. Like Sega Twitter account only follows 200 people, and I'm one of those people. Yeah. So they know who I am.
Yeah.
Anytime there's a new Sonic thing coming out, they will ask me, "Can you do a video on Sonic?" Yeah, it's all that sort of stuff. But it's not like it was. I wouldn't say I'm close to anybody there now, sadly. Yeah. But it's okay. Look, I just love Sonic, and I just want to play Sonic games.
Absolutely.
If I asked them, like, say there's a new game coming out, and I said, like, can I have a code? They just give it to me.
Yeah, incredible. So, again, even learning about your your early story and stuff like that as well. Like you can see the threads of like journalism dotted about. You know, it's quite clear to see that there's that again, even with the technology side of things and the historian side of things, and you can see it dotted about the collecting. Like, so, and you said you had like a mainstream job, and then you went, okay, that's it, I'm going to do it. Like, talk to us about like maybe the in between bit, maybe so the bits before. What were some of the threads that we haven't talked about yet that led towards that decision you made? You know, maybe like the 2010s or whatever, or.
Yeah, so I like everybody else. I did a bit of education in that, and I was very boring. I got a job working in the city, financial stuff. It was really boring to talk about. But during that, I still played my video games. I was still buying regular games, and that I kind of got lost interest in not lost interest, but stopped buying new video games about just as sort of halfway through the 360 PS3 time. Because I just kind of saw the games had got a bit stuck. Like they hadn't really moved on from like the PS2, Dreamcast, Xbox a lot. And then the PS4 and the Xbox One came out, and I wasn't seeing much there. So I just kept looking back and going, I'm not seeing much in these games. I'm not seeing much new. The games have been very stuck. They've come back a bit more recently, but to answer your question, I was still collecting hardcore, but I wasn't on the internet much. Without going into it too much because we get sidetracked. Obviously, I'm transgender, so I had a lot of that going on as well. That old person's gone. There's now Faith, who's very happy and enjoys life. But I started helping websites catalog stuff. So where I had this collection. And Dreamcast stuff as well was part of it. It's just started like cataloging things and helping with reference numbers and barcodes so we could have it all on our Sega archive stuff. Helped with a bit of that, and because of my collection, they'd ask for like photographs and stuff as well. And I wasn't doing much. Do you know what I was doing? I was just playing Sonic and Street Fighter. Honestly, yeah. I did. I used to come because I was. Yeah, Joe, this is important to your question. So because I'm transgender and I hadn't transitioned at that point, I was still a bloke working in the city, and I was very depressed. I didn't like my life, but I had one. You're gonna love this story. You're gonna love this story. Okay. But I had one thing in my life, apart from family, which you're kind of stuck with, aren't you? I had one thing in my life that was a constant, and that was Sonic and Ken and Ryu and Metal Slug and things like that, and I knew it was a safe space for me to go to if I needed to at that time. So that's what was going on. I played a lot of Sonic, and I was very depressed, so that's where a lot of the collecting come in. It went into overdrive about 10-15 years ago, which is where I decided I'm just going to go for every single Sonic game in the world and every Dreamcast game and all this sort of stuff. I've got like 700 Dreamcast games or something. It just, but then I woke up out of it and I realised this is not healthy. I used to have about, I think I never counted them, but I think I had skywards of 5,000 games and hundreds of consoles at one point. And a lot of my friends were like, you've seen those programs like Hoarders.
Yeah, I was thinking of that. Yeah.
Instead of it being piles of newspapers, it was piles of PlayStation games or piles of PC games or whatever I just bought constantly. And a lot of my friends were like, you need to sort your life out. But it wasn't. That was part of sorting my life out. And but now the good thing is I've still got that safety net whenever I need it. But my world is larger now, and now because I'm the person I felt I should have always been, I can now share the person with the world, and that's one of the reasons again why I wanted to become a journalist and share my passion and my hobby and my knowledge about gaming to give fuel other people's passion, and that's why I wanted to become a game journalist, because I want to give my passion to other people to make their passion better, which then can make my passion better, and it just make a better community for everyone, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. I'll level with you here, mate. I'll level with you here. If genuinely, and I'm not saying this, I'm saying this whilst we're recording as well. I'm not even going to cut this out unless you want me to. Genuinely did not know you were transgender until we started talking today. And again, learning your story and learning your passion for video games, learning your stories, and your old self and your new self, and rebuilding who you are, and having that passion and drive to still take you forward, and having that almost, dare I say, hot take controversial side to you as well, saying who you are. You're an absolute inspiration. I think you're incredible. I knew you were great anyway, but I think you're amazing. Can I just say?
I'll just say as well, this is one of the best. I do a lot of these podcasts, and this has been one of the best ones. Johnny, you've been brilliant because you've allowed me just to have a conversation with someone rather than it being what's your favourite game and what's your. This is better. This is so much better.
No, hell yeah. No, thank you, and I love that. Absolutely love that. That's thank you. Thanks for being an amazing guest. Right, we'll pause there and we will continue. But no, that's insane.
Oh, you can leave that in, Johnny. You can leave all that in. I don't mind. Yeah. No. I've got nothing to hide. That's what I say now. I used to do a lot of that. I've got none of that now.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So let's talk.
I'm getting all emotional. Talking about video games.
Yeah. It's nothing. It's not important. It's so important, isn't it? I've just been doing a charity event for special effect, and we talk about that.
Yeah, again, I've done a bit of special. Yeah, I've done a bit of that.
Charity, aren't they? And we talk about that. Like, it's so important for mental health. Like, it's that escapism.
I've got a lot to talk about that when you get to that as well. Because yes, go on. Yeah, go on. Just carry on. Yeah, when you get to that topic. Yeah.
I've got to be honest with you. I'm just kind of throwing the script out the window, to be honest with you. But in that respect, it's so important. It really is important to talk about how the escapism in video games is a big part of our lives. And it's that place we can go back to whenever we feel like the horrible world is worse than it is. So yeah, for sure. But okay, let's talk then about journalism then. So again, you've covered mainstream media. Let's talk about that in terms of like that's hard. And again, we were talking about the transgender agenda, should we say, in the mainstream media as well. On top of that, about video gaming as an agenda, about it's not taken seriously. Like how? It's a silly question. Is how hard is it? Like, but talk us through your emotions of going through all that. It's yeah.
I'll take you from the low to the high, right? So the high is when I get to do something quite cheeky with someone like Jeremy Vine, who's just tongue-in-cheek, the 90s, Sonic and Mario and Tomb Raider and on video games for kids, Faith, and it's all a bit jolly and all that. And then we do the low end, which is fine. And yeah, look, for mainstream media, you can't go into. I can't sit here and talk to you like I'm talking to you in detail about video games and serial numbers and start leads and console bundle and stuff. It's just top level. It's like, imagine a newspaper. It's just top level stuff. So, and it's hard. It's hard to keep it at that top level. So Margaret down the road can understand what you're saying about Grand Theft Auto 6 and why it's such an important video game. It's the biggest game ever. We already, as journalists, we're already assuming it's going to sell X amount of billion and stuff like that. Yeah. Right. So that's hard because you're so geeky about it. It's really hard to. I am going to use the word dumb it down, right? I'm going to use that word because that's what you have to do, and that's a skill. It sounds like it would be easy, but you be a gamer and try to just explain in 2 or 3 minutes that's allotted for your time everything you need to get in about this particular topic is sometimes hard, but it's fun and I love it. Is it taken seriously? No. I get messages as soon as I get on the radio or the TV talk about video games. I will get a slew of messages of random people on the internet saying that, no point saying example, but just, why are you doing this? This is stupid. It's a waste of BBC's airtime. And then the other end of that spectrum is the gamers who are like, why is some tranny talking about Grand Theft Auto 6? That should be me because I'm the hardcorest Grand Theft Auto fan out there. And all this sort of stuff, and you're just like, yeah, all right, mate, whatever. But then the low end of it is this story. So now here's where it's, because this is where for me that's obviously not personal. That's just work. I'm the professional expert talking about video games with Jeremy Vine in a topical news show, very light, fluffy. And then there's another extreme. So Jeremy Vine got, again, it just happened to be the Jeremy Vine show again. He got me on because the Hogwarts game came out.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Oh, wow.
Good.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Here we go.
Good game or not, right, is irrelevant. He wasn't interested in whether the game was good. What he was interested in was J.K. Rowling is anti-trans, and should people boycott this game, Faith Johnson, because you're trans, aren't you? So I'm just like, okay. And then he does this thing where he pits two experts who are on the opposite side of the same coin against each other. So it was me who was like, I don't really think we should boycott video games regardless of the political agenda of someone who's kind of detached from it anyway, even though it's connected to them. And then another trans gamer who was pro boycott the game because J.K. Rowling's evil. It just so happened that the trans person on the other side, who I was supposed to be arguing with for entertainment, I actually know very well. So when the BBC had got us together, we were like, oh, hello. And we both secretly agreed that we wouldn't let Jeremy Vine build us all up and get us shouting at each other, which is what the entertainment is. Yes. So we both just complimented each other about our ideas and gone, yes, I can see your point. And when we got off the air, he was like, oh, you two were supposed to be going loggerheads, but well done for you two for doing it, and it was a very good piece of journalism.
Fantastic, yeah.
But I was happy, and I thought I did a great job, and I had so many nice messages from people going, oh, Faith, that is like one of the best sort of things we've ever seen you do or hear you do, because you were so composed, all your points were bang on, you didn't scream for one side or the other, and you come across amazingly. I got so many compliments for it, and everyone was really happy. But very shortly after that, I got so many. So I get trolls a lot, right? I'm not going to go into it all because it's a pointless discussion, because we all know trolls are just stupid people keyboard warring, and it's really pointless to talk about because you're just gossiping. However, the trolling when I did that interview about the transgender and the Hogwarts thing went into overdrive because of three reasons. One, so many people are really passionate about J.K. Rowling, for good or for bad. Mm-hmm. People just really passionate about Harry Potter in general and wanted to say their piece. And there was loads and loads of people that were like, I'm gonna gun out for any LGBT, trans, black, race, whatever person. They just, and so because it was such a hot topic on the day, and it was prime time news, lunchtime news on Radio 5, I got absolutely bombarded. And when I mean bombarded, I mean I got a message from Twitter and Facebook telling me we are blocking your account for a few hours because we see that you are being attacked.
Wow. Oh my god.
And I was like, what? And I just clicked yes please. They asked, do you want us to do this, because we see that their algorithm. And then someone, not from Facebook but from Twitter, someone contacted me the next day saying, have you seen it? And I was like, I haven't gone to look at any of it because I can imagine. And they went, don't bother. Just don't bother. It's not worth it. It is like death threats. It is go kill yourself. It is. I saw about two of them and I just went, I'm alright for this. So that's, the broadcasting can be a real double-edged sword of really fun, getting paid to talk on the radio about video games with Jeremy Vine, and then it can be this, oh my god, I was trapped by the mainstream media as a trans person to talk about freaking J.K. Rowling. But I dealt with it really well, and I was really proud of my work. But yeah, that it felt. I wasn't scared. It was just people trolling me. It wasn't like people going, "I know where you live." They'll just like, "Go hang yourself." Trans people are stupid. I'm a silly, immature 18-year-old behind a keyboard telling you gay people are dumb or something. It was just, but it was a lot of that. Yeah. So that there's that side to it, and it's interesting. I'm now very careful about the topics I talk about on the BBC. Not because of that per se. It's just more a case of I just kind of, it's got to be saying that I feel compelled to talk about. Like I did a lot for Tetris's 40th anniversary. Like I was on the radio all day, I think I did 20 appearances across the radio. Not just for BBC. I did a few Times Radio. I think Capital. I think a few others. So that was a good day.
Yeah.
But no, I love the broadcasting work. Like I've done TV. I've been on TV a couple of times. I got to talk about Halo on 10 o'clock news.
Wow.
Halo. I got to talk about Halo to millions of people. It was only about 20 seconds.
Doesn't matter, does it? Yeah, that's the
and I was on ITV News, and they filmed me playing Sonic.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah.
That was cool. Yeah. That was cool. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Wow. Yeah, goodness me. I can't even imagine, Faith. I just can't. So I'll say no more. But thank you. Okay, I got a question from a previous person, streamer, content creator. Again, when we finish our chat, I'm going to ask you to ask a future person a question. So this question that's landed on your podcast episode is: suggest a film every content creator or streamer should watch. Anything comes to mind?
Oh, blimey! Yeah, there is one that comes to mind. I hope I've got it here in my collection of films. I don't, downstairs. But is my favourite director, Mr. Kevin Smith.
Hey.
And he made a very famous film in the 90s called Clerks.
Yes.
And I would say if you are a content creator, you could learn so much from what Kevin Smith did with one camera, one set of lights, one set of dialogue, one microphone, and just a very limited ability to write a script. He made one of the greatest films, or indie films, maybe not greatest films, but one of the greatest independent films of all time, if not the greatest independent film of all time, with $27,000, one camera, one microphone. So if one guy can make one of the best films you've ever seen with just the same equipment that I've got in front of me today, you can do it too. Watch Clerks, see what he does, and take away from it that if you prepare in the best way, so when you come to do your streaming or your YouTube video or your Twitter post or whatever, plan first. I learned that from my work in broadcast. If I'm going to be broadcasting and I'm going to talk about Tetris, I will spend an hour making notes about Tetris, the most random stuff. And then I might only be talking about it for 2 minutes. But I know anything that comes my way, I know what I'm going to say and practice saying it. So if you're a streamer, yes, it's live. Have your intro practiced. Have your outro practiced. Have bits and pieces between. So if the chat gets slow, you can bring up an interesting news piece. Say you're playing Fortnite. Talk about the news, the Fortnite news that day. What's happening? Is there some new DLC? Have it ready in front of you. Have a list. I'm doing this podcast. I have a list of things in front of me that after Johnny sent over the list, I have the topics in front of me, which is why I've given you all this information so clearly today.
Yeah.
Preparation is key. And Kevin Smith, watch that movie Clerks. He'll show you how to prepare and get the most out of your equipment.
Yeah, you know what? I need to watch that again. It's been a long time. It's a great film. It really is. Okay, so we know obviously the predominant factor here is journalism, but as it's like a hobby almost in the streaming side.
Can I talk about streaming?
Yeah, let's have a little.
It gives me an excuse to bring this bad boy out.
Yes,
right?
Let's go.
Right?
Yes.
Let me. No, I won't move the camera because I know I messed up. Right, so people will be going, "What on earth's that?" So there is a game I love called Fantasy Star Online, which started out live on the Dreamcast and then also moved to Xbox and GameCube. And now, obviously, it's called Fantasy Star Online. It's a Sega game. It's a RPG, and it's it's a bit like World of Warcraft, right? That's the best way I can describe it as a video game. Yeah, you have a little team of people. You go and do missions. However, when it went released on the GameCube, they released this very cool keyboard. So back in the day, before Discords and mobile phones and all that sort of stuff, you had to type out to your teammates like, "Come help me" or whatever. And it's obviously, as you can see, it's a GameCube controller. It's an actual GameCube controller. Like there's, if you take out the middle bit, you've just got a GameCube controller.
That's so cool.
It's official. It's not some unofficial thing. And we still play it online today.
Oh,
so that's what I stream. So when I will get back to streaming. I had a problem with my capture card, which I've now fixed. I'm just doing the final tests of my capture card because I'll move the camera. I'll see if I can get a good picture of it. You can see all my equipment down there. So there's my keyboard. That's a Switch controller. And I had problems. There's all my a few posters.
Yay. Oh, look at them! They're so cool. Let's go.
Yeah. So this GameCube, I don't know if you can see it here. This GameCube is plugged in via an Ethernet lead to the internet via a broadband adapter, and we still play it online today.
That's amazing. That's
that's what I do on streaming. We call it late night Fantasy Star.
Nice.
And what happens is it's me and the same group of people. We've been playing it together for God knows how many years together, and now we play it on stream. And what we do is I'm like the leader, if you like, it's a guild. You have guilds, a bit like you do with lots of online games. So our guild is basically I'll lead the chat. And I'll bring up, because I'm a journalist, I'll bring up interesting gaming news. Maybe if Xbox has done something, or there's something interesting on the Switch, or some interesting retro game coming out. And as it morphs into like what I call like a visual podcast. So it won't be us talking about the game. So because we've been playing it so long, we go on autopilot, we call it, on the game. We don't need to. Honestly, we've played this game for 20 years. We just keep playing it over and over again together. And then, so I'll make it a podcast during the stream of interesting chat between a group of people.
That's fantastic.
Who all know each other really well. So we've all known each other for years. So we can just have really good flying back banter and that, and it's cool. Yeah, that's what I do for streaming anyway.
There we go. Everyone, please. Well, yeah. Again, you are RetroFaithKnuckles on Twitch, aren't you?
I will get back to it. I've not done it for a month or two because as I say, I broke my capture card, died, and I'm still just. I've got this internal capture card now, which is I'm just getting it all set up, and all this old stuff, old consoles on new technology.
It's just a constant battle. But yeah, everyone, please check out RetroFaith across all socials. Again, the website as well, please.
If you just type in RetroFaith into Google, I think most of it comes up on there, including the Twitch stuff.
Definitely. Yeah, there we go. Great. Okay, I got one final question for you. Which is it'll be interesting, I think, for you, is if you were stuck on a remote island then and you could only bring 3 games with you. So for clarity, you can use mods, you can use internet, you can play online, you can include compilations. Some people cheat with that, but that's fine, I don't care. But if you could only bring 3, what would they be? And you're stuck on that island for the rest of your life, which would be so hard. How many games have you got?
No, this is such an easy question for me.
Oh, okay.
I didn't knock all my figures over. My favourite game of all time, Heroes of Might and Magic 2. Oh, wow. Absolute favourite game of all time. It's a turn-based strategy game on the PC, made in the 90s. My favourite game of all time. I'm the only person to ever interview the devs because they're very camera shy, and I absolutely love it. It's my favourite game. That'll be the first game. Second game, Sonic 3 and Knuckles. No question. The cart lock on with a Mega Drive, fine. Yes. Third game, GameCube with Fantasy Star Online.
Oh, perfect. Let's go.
No problem. My three favorite games. I play them all the time.
Incredible. Oh, Faith, thank you so much. My camera's gone blurry, but thank you so much. I absolutely love that chat. I really appreciate you. You're incredible, and I'm so grateful for your time. So, thank you so much. What a chat. I love that.
You're welcome. I've really enjoyed this today. Thank you.
Amazing. Everyone, please check out RetroFaithKnuckles, aka Faith Johnson, an amazing journalist and even better person, I must say. Like just what I've learned from you. What an inspiration. I've loved that. One of my favorite chats I think I've ever done. So thank you.
It's nice.
But I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and I will catch you hopefully for the next one. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.